and this yeoman that I had working for me, and he and I got along real well. And so he on a weekend,
Yeah.
he said, "I want to take you out and buy you a beer."
Tell me when we get this thing
Oh,
going.
no.
You can't tell me that.
No. I thought you were here to talk about.
Well,
Pearl Harbor.
I'm here to talk about whatever you're going to tell me. All right, let me do an intro on this thing. I'll figure out what the hell day it is. Oh, it's 28th, 27th. It's December the 28th, I guess, 2005, and
2015.
Huh?
You said 2005.
2015. I'm a little off today. And I'm talking to you go by Bill? Phil. Okay, yeah, okay. Phil, I see. Phil Riddle, R-I-D-D-E-L.
Just
two
like
D's
the
and an
enigma.
L and E. Okay.
Riddle.
At his home in North Fort Myers, out of our circulation area. Phil is great to talk to me about his military service, and prior to that, when he was a kid in World War II. My name is Don Moore. I'm a newspaper reporter for the Charlotte Sun Daily newspaper. I'm shooting this DVD for the Veterans History Project Library of Congress, and for notes that will be used to produce a story that will appear in the Charlotte Sun Daily newspaper. Phil, let's just start off with, where were you born?
I was born in 1938 in San Pedro, California.
Okay.
At the time, my dad was a radioman, enlisted radioman on a tanker, and I don't know which one. It was operating out of Terminal Island.
Okay, like an oil tanker or some sort of a...
Yes.
Okay.
And he married my mother, who was a native of San Pedro, California. I was born 1938 there, and then...
What's your date of birth?
February 4th, 1938.
Okay.
And I know we moved around several times. I was just trying to figure out where I'd spent my Christmases up through my 10th birthday, and I don't know where I was the first 3 years. Now, anyway, he wound up stationed at the Naval Radio Station in Hawaii.
At Pearl?
In 1941. It's not actually in Pearl Harbor, but it's
close.
It services Pearl Harbor.
Okay. Whose radio station was it?
It was the Navy.
Navy's radio station.
Okay, and
like Ford Island or something like that?
No, it was up on the
on a hill.
Up on the hill somewhere.
Okay.
Hawaii was.
Okay, so
where it was located.
He was running a radio station. You all were living in.
We were living on the naval housing, which was probably about the only place there was naval housing. Was on the base at Pearl Harbor.
All right, you were what, 2 years old, 3 years old?
I was on December 7th, 1941. I was 3 years and 10 months.
Oh, okay. So
now, leading up to this, if you understand the history of radar, we didn't have any radarmen back in the day, as such. However, a radar is just a special radio transmitter receiver.
Right.
And so, Dad was tabbed to go on temporary assignment to Palmyra Island to build a radar station.
Okay.
And so he left Oahu and went out further into the Southwest Pacific, and he was out there building that radar station.
Okay. When the Japanese attacked.
When the Japs attacked. Now he later, a couple of weeks later, he went under attack from a Japanese submarine. They shelled the island. Okay. Anyway, so on December 7th, just Mom and me living in Navy housing.
Right.
Her sister was also married to a Navy guy who was a machinist mate, was on the USS Oklahoma. Okay, so they were both there. Mom was there. She's 8 months pregnant. Okay. Now, just for my uncle, Michael Perdok, back in the day, the saying was in the Navy, if we wanted you to have a wife, we'd have given you one with your sea bag. Okay, so there was very few married guys back in those days.
Oh, okay.
My dad and my uncle were one of the few, and of course every weekend.
But they were what, career Navy people?
Oh yeah.
I mean, they weren't just...
Both of them went through the whole Depression in the Navy, and they both made rates, so they were very
good at what they did.
You betcha.
Okay.
I'm very proud of my father.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway,
what was a radio man first class or something?
he was an E6, the first class, and my uncle was an E6 machinist mate. Now,
okay, so
he was not actually aboard the Oklahoma when it got bombed. He was ashore with his wife because he could always find a standby for the weekend because everybody else wasn't married.
Yeah, sure.
Anyway, so come December 7th, and typical Sunday morning, very quiet, and we're getting up, and all of a sudden a big commotion, okay? And Mom didn't think two things about it. She figured that there'd been so much talk and drills and everything. She figured it was a realistic drill, okay? Now, we're living in probably a triplex or fourplex or something.
Yeah, quadruplex,
like that. Okay, and it's up and down, 2 stories.
Okay.
And the bedrooms are upstairs.
Okay.
Now, I'm in my bedroom, and we're looking outside, and we could actually see guns shooting.
All right, now, how far are you from Pearl? I mean, you right close?
Yeah, here's Ford Island.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking we're just where's it?
You
we're
on
right
Ford
out,
Island?
No, we're out here at the main gate.
Okay.
Right about there.
Okay, but you could actually see from here to there.
Well, no, we could see other things. We were looking around. There was guns going off.
Yeah. Okay.
Other places, and there was lots of smoke. I'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
So anyway, she's getting me dressed.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm all dressed now. This is small bedroom.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting. Sits me down on a bed.
Yeah.
On my bed.
Yeah.
And I'm all dressed except for my shoes and socks.
Okay.
And she's bending over me as she puts me down.
Right.
Then she stands up, turns to the wall right there, about that far away.
Right.
There's my chest of drawers, and she opens that to get my socks out, and at that instant there's a bullet comes through the roof and hit me right here in the leg.
Oh, shoot.
And that's the bullet.
Oh my God.
If you can imagine the size of that bullet, and
Hit
a
a
kid that
3-year-old
ain't even
kid?
4 years old.
That must have done some...
Well, it would have killed my mother if it had come through a couple of seconds earlier, because she was bending over me.
Right.
And my soon-to-be next brother.
Okay, so you get hit in the leg, goes through your leg, I assume.
When it shattered the bone, and it had actually clipped my right foot, cut my left leg and right foot.
It hit the floor.
And it hit the floor.
Wooden floors?
Yeah.
Stuck in the floor?
No.
No.
Well, I don't know what it did.
Okay.
Anyway, Mom, I don't remember most of this.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Well, what did she tell you? What happened after that?
These homes, by the way, enlisted housing, they were brand new. They had just planted the lawn.
Okay, they wooden?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know, with the high ceilings, tropic ceilings and everything, no air conditioning back in those days.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So anyway, she picks me up and downstairs we go.
Okay.
And like I said, they just planted the lawn, and they'd stuck stakes in the ground around the lawn with string and whatever to keep people off the lawn, right? And she's down there, and here comes some guy by.
Yeah.
Don't know who.
Yeah.
And he takes one look, and he puts me down, and he grabs one of the stakes and the string, and he makes a tourniquet for my leg to keep it from bleeding.
Bleeding, yeah.
And he's going to go get help. And that's the last we ever saw of him. Next comes a Navy chaplain driving by, and he grabs me and Mom and takes us to the nearest medical facility, which is over not not too far from the Naval Shipyard in Pearl Harbor.
Okay.
And this part I do remember is laying on my back, probably a blanket or a stretcher or something in a hallway.
They must have been going crazy by this time. I mean,
you betcha.
They had dozens of people in all kinds of. Yeah, I mean, there were 2,400 people that were lost there, and God knows how many were injured. Yeah, okay, so you're laying in a hall in the hospital.
Yeah, and I remember there's somebody holding up a sponge and squeezing something on, like a disinfectant or something on my leg. It was orange.
Okay.
To this day, I can see that hand with that.
Yeah.
And all I know, what I remember personally next, is it's that night, okay? Well, actually, the next thing, we go home.
What did they do? Put a cast on this?
Nope. What they told Mom literally was give them 2 aspirin and come back in the morning.
Oh, bullshit.
No, sir. There was too much going on, and they had to get those sailors taken care of.
They just stopped the bleeding.
Yeah, and put a Band-Aid on it. It told them come back in the morning.
Well, that's a 30 caliber bullet.
50.
That's a 50. Oh, Jesus.
Okay.
Okay.
And Mom told me later, that's what they did. They didn't have time for me. I was not in a life-threatening situation.
Sure. Okay, so
they were going to take care of their sailors first.
Yeah, sure.
And then later. Anyway, we go home. And Mom takes me upstairs and lays me down on my bed. And I'm laying flat on my bed, and I look up, and there's a hole in the roof, and I can see
where the bullet went.
I can see the sky through it, and I just flipped out. That's where my pain had come from. I knew it.
Yeah.
And so from that point on, she took me downstairs, and from that point on, I slept on the couch downstairs. Never went upstairs again. Okay. Anyway, the next thing I remember is that night. Everything's pitch black. Okay.
Yeah.
And
blackout curtains.
I'm laying in the couch right by the front door, and there's a knock on the door. By this time, by the way, my mother, she's had it. She's 8 months pregnant. Okay. She's had it. My aunt came over. Her sister came over to take care of things. Mm-hmm. And I don't know where her husband was. But anyway. So she's there. Mom's upstairs in bed. And I don't know what time it was. Just I know it was dark. And there's a knock on the door. And my aunt answers the door, and there's a guy. I'm talking Hawaii. Who nobody wears a coat and tie in Hawaii. Well, this guy's got a double-breasted suit, tie, and a fedora hat. Okay. It's like one of those black and white movies that you see with
exactly.
And he's from the FBI, and he says he's collecting evidence to prove who it was that attacked us. Okay. And he tells my aunt, he says, okay, I heard there was a personnel casualty here, and I'm just checking on it. She says, well, yeah, there's the boy. And where did it happen? Well, upstairs. So he said, can I go up there and look? And he went up and looked. And he came down with that bullet.
I'll be there.
All right. And he signed a receipt. Just, chain of evidence or whatever.
Yeah.
Signed a receipt with my aunt's name on it, which was different than mine.
Yeah.
Okay. Just an aside, I got married about 20 years later. And I stayed the night before my wedding at my aunt's house in L.A. In San Pedro, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
California. And after dinner, she says, I got a special wedding present for you. And she come out and she brought me that bullet.
Oh, damn.
And the FBI had tracked her down, and they were through with the evidence. And they tracked her down and gave it back to her.
After the war.
This is 1961.
They tracked her down in 61? Jesus.
If you can believe, I mean, there it is. Now, the other thing you need to know about that bullet,
Yeah.
Japs had nothing like it. Okay? And if you look at the chart,
Yeah.
we are just right abeam of Ford Island.
Yeah.
Okay? That probably came from one of the
One of the-
battleships.
One of our planes.
Yes.
I'll be damned.
All right.
That's
Anyway, that's the story on the bullet.
That's amazing.
Anyway,
All right. So you survived. You were a Navy brat,
yes.
and your dad was in the Navy. What till the time you left your house, or
Excuse me?
how long was your dad in the Navy after the war?
Oh, hell, he served 30 years.
Okay,
So he went in right as the Depression started.
Okay, 29. So he served to 59.
58, I think, is when he got out. Okay?
Okay.
And my uncle, just about the same. He stayed in about a year longer, my uncle did.
Okay.
Anyway, so we go back to this medical facility the next day, and they put a cast on me. And
Is that you with the cast here? Is that no? You're older.
Yeah,
there.
that's the cast.
Is that the cast?
That's the one.
I'll be damned. Okay. That is really cool. That is.
So anyway, as my mother had told me, we were actually scheduled to leave Pearl Harbor before the attack. Somewhere in the month of December, we were probably booked out.
Okay.
In any case, we left Honolulu, on the SS Lurleen,
Okay.
Christmas Day, I'm told.
San
By
Francisco.
somebody else that went out on the same ship.
Yeah. Yeah.
We left on Christmas Day in 41 to go back to the West Coast.
To San Francisco.
No, I think it went to L.A. because
okay.
that's where that picture's taken at San Pedro.
Okay.
Okay. And I remember Mom had to carry me, of course, everywhere we went on this ship.
Yeah.
Okay. And we had a submarine.
Oh, it was an escort.
It was an alert. Okay. And so everybody had to put on life jackets. Those are the old.
Oh, K-pop life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the real stiff ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
So here she is with her on, pregnant.
Yeah.
And mine.
Problem.
And taking me to a
Yeah.
boat station. And I remember that.
Okay.
I remember being very uncomfortable being carried to a lifeboat station.
Yeah.
During the day, it was.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's pretty much.
That's your World War II adventure.
Okay.
Now,
let me. There is a tagline to this.
Okay.
I graduated from the Merchant Marine Academy in California in 1959
Okay.
as a third mate,
Okay.
and I had received a stipend from the U.S. Navy. All 3 years I was there, it was $50 a quarter.
Okay.
Which meant I had agreed to
Oh.
accept a commission
Yeah.
when I graduated.
Okay.
And eventually I went on active duty. And just at that time, my dad had gotten out of the service.
Okay.
In 1958. And he went to work for General Dynamics, working on the Atlas missile.
Okay.
He worked there. He wound up in Lompoc at the one end of the Pacific Missile Range. Okay.
Okay.
And then a buddy of his from the service, ex-service buddy, had gotten a job with Thiokol Chemical Corporation, which was developing the Minuteman missile. And this was out in the middle of nowhere, not too far from where the Golden Spike was driven in Utah. Okay, I mean it's out in the middle of nowhere. This was going to be the first solid propellant or a ballistic missile.
Okay.
I got out of when I graduated. I helped them move to Utah, and I thought, well, hell, I'll just stay there while I'm waiting to get my orders.
Yeah.
So I'm in Utah, and I go to work for Thiokol. I worked there for 6 months or so, And what I didn't realize was the Navy's having trouble tracking me down. He couldn't find me. At 21 years of age.
Yeah, you got no. Yeah.
You know, I didn't even think of stuff like that. So anyway, Dad got on the phone one night. He got tired of feeding me.
Yeah.
And he got on the phone and called a buddy of his in the Pentagon.
Right.
And the next thing I know, my
your
orders
came
yeah.
through.
So I had to go into Salt Lake City, a big recruiting station in Salt Lake City to get sworn in. And the deal was, the Department of Commerce at the time felt they were losing too many merchant marine officers to the Navy. So the agreement between the Navy and the Commerce Department was that we didn't have to go in, and if they offered us orders, we didn't have to accept them.
Into the Navy.
Yeah. Okay. So they could write all the orders they wanted, but if we didn't like where they were sending us, we didn't have to.
What was the advantage of staying in the Merchant Marines or staying in the Navy? Was there? You were getting the same pay, weren't you? Pretty much.
No.
You got better pay.
It was probably at least twice better in the Merchant Marine.
By this time?
Yeah. Oh, heck yeah. The day I entered the Navy, I got the base pay for an ensign was $222.30 a month, and you got $47.88 a month subsistence, out of which you had to buy all your food and your uniforms.
$7.
Okay.
I wouldn't buy the buttons on the damn thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, I go to this recruiting station, and they said, "Here's your order, sign here." You know, I said, "Wait a minute. I'm not signing anything. Tell me where this ship is.
Yeah.
Home ported."
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh, I don't know where it's home ported." Well, I said, "You should have a pub around here somewhere that tells you where this is home ported."
Well, no,
we don't got no port. We don't.
You're in the Merchant Marines at this point.
No, I'm actually working as a civilian engineering aide at Thiokol Chemical.
Okay, but they didn't. You were going into the Merchant Marines at that point, or were you going
that's
into?
That's another story.
Okay, but I'm just trying to get a handle on.
I at the time, the unions had the industry in a chokehold. Okay.
Okay.
We were told, the graduates were told, that you would have to pay like $1,000 initiation fee to join the union.
Yeah.
And you'd be lucky to get a single week or 2 weeks job in the first year.
Yeah.
Because you were a junior mate or whatever.
Yeah.
And in fact, American President Lines, the first year I went to school,
yeah.
Or I was the second year I was there. They tried to take a couple of our graduates and sneak them on the ships, and the union showed up in the middle of the night with the ship and says, "If that kid walks on that ship, we're walking out up and down the coast."
Okay. Well, I don't care anything about that. But what when you actually got back after you got out of Arizona or wherever and went in, will you start off in the Merchant Marines?
No.
You start off in the Navy.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's 59.
Yeah, 59.
There's nothing going on.
No.
I mean,
and actually, I didn't go in until 1960.
Okay. So it's still
but I'm just
the
point I was making was I had a choice as to whether I accepted the offer. The orders were to a ship in the Pacific Fleet. That's all they knew. They couldn't tell me where it was home ported, and they said, "Well, why do you care?" I says, "Because I never want to go back to Pearl Harbor." And they says, "Well, chances are, I mean, we got ships home ported all over the world.
So you end up in Pearl Harbor, of course."
They said, "This ship, chances are it's not there." And I says, "Okay, I'll sign." And I signed, and sure enough, it's in Pearl Harbor, of all the places in the world.
Yeah.
So,
okay, well,
just to finish.
Yeah.
Okay, this is part of the Pearl Harbor story. Okay. After I'd been on the ship a couple of months, I hurt my ankle. We were out to sea, and I hurt my ankle. And we came back in. I had the duty driver take me to the nearest medical facility. And he dropped me in front of this dispensary over by the shipyard.
Okay.
And I limp up to the door, opened the door, took one step inside and passed out. It was where they had taken me as a baby. It was the same place.
I'll be damned.
It just came to me.
You knew where it was.
No, I didn't know.
You didn't.
It just like all of us. I have never in my life fainted. That was the only time I ever fainted.
But you didn't know where it was.
No, I didn't even think about it.
That's really strange.
Isn't that?
Yeah.
But that's. I mean, as soon as I got in, it just stepped in that door. It all flashed back to me, and I just went flat on my face.
Okay. So they scraped you off the floor.
Yeah.
And put a bandage on your leg or on your ankle.
Yeah.
And sent you back to the ship.
Yeah.
What kind of ship was it?
This was a small tanker. It was constructed in World War II. It was a point-to-point tanker. That is, it didn't do any underway replenishment. And it carried light petroleum products. That would be aviation gas, bow gas, diesel, stuff like that.
Well, you know, one of the strange things I've run into on the Merchant Marines and the Navy and everything, you have people in the Navy that absolutely hate the Merchant Marines. They are a bunch of miserable, no good bastards, and they don't do anything except they get to pick the ship to go on. They get a lot more pay than we do, and I hate their guts and whatnot. And you try to tell these people, you know, a lot more pay probably wasn't very much pay, if it was. And they're out on a 6-knot tanker, and the German submarines are floating around out there, and they had the highest casualty rate in the war, and
And you tell them this.
Yeah, higher than the Marines.
Yeah. You tell them this. General Patton would not have
He said
had
they
an
couldn't
ounce
get
of gasoline or a tank to put it in if it hadn't been for the Merchant Marine.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Okay. And
But
today,
it doesn't. But I mean,
today,
yeah,
you're in the military. You can buy. I don't care which foxhole you're in. You're going to
got it.
get a hot holiday meal, and guess who gets it to you?
yeah. Well, I just. But these guys are like, you're talking people in
And
World
you-
War II. And
Yeah.
it was 50, 60, 70 years ago, and they're still mad.
Yeah.
You know, the damn Merchant Marines.
And the Merchant Marine can't get veteran status.
Well, they didn't. They finally did. But I mean,
No, they haven't.
I thought they cured.
There's people trying to push it through. If they're waiting, I mean, there's almost no veterans left.
They did that a couple of years ago.
They have not got veteran status to this day. I belong to the Merchant Marine
They
club
haven't
here.
gotten. All right. Well, let's move on. So
Okay, so anyway, my first duty station, Pearl Harbor.
Okay. So what was your job aboard ship?
I went in as a first lieutenant and gunnery officer. Okay.
A gunnery officer.
Yeah.
In a little oil tanker.
They
and
had
there's no
3
war.
guns. They had 3
What
guns.
are you gunnering? Like 40 millimeters or 20 millimeters or?
3-inch.
Oh, you got the big gun, huh?
3-inch. And not a day's training in which end does the cannon or the shell go in?
You put the round.
Yeah. But just I can tell you, mostly, even in the Naval Academy graduates, they do not get the training that the Merchant Marine does. Okay.
Mm.
And I think there's a little envious.
Mm.
The Navy couldn't get enough of me.
Mm.
Okay, until after I made lieutenant.
Okay.
Then I couldn't make lieutenant commander because if I did, I'd be blocking promotion for the Naval Academy graduates and the regular NROTCs. So I failed promotion to lieutenant commander and had to get out. And the first day I was on board I came aboard on a Sunday night. It was a USS Elkhorn, AOG 7.
How do you spell the Elkhorn?
ELKHORN. I think
Elkhorn. Okay.
It's a river in Nebraska, I think.
Okay.
Anyway, Monday morning, Captain sits me down in the wardroom and has a cup of coffee for about 2-3 hours with me, just questioning me all about the stuff I know, about the rules of the road, how to get the ship to do this, that, or the other thing as far as seamanship is concerned. And so the next day we're going out to sea to do something, I don't remember what. But anyway, we're going to leave about 8 o'clock in the morning for the pier and go. So I go out to the bow where going to be my duty station, and the guy I'm going to relieve's out there, and I said, "Oh, by the way, when do I get to handle a ship? Get the ship underway?" He says, "You're at the end of a long line, ensign. Okay, you ain't going to handle the ship. I don't know when."
Much.
About that time, the captain sends word from the bridge for me to come up to the bridge. And the first thing he says to me is, "Engines are ready, answer all bells, and all lines are singled up. You have the con." He gave me the con as a brand new ensign, and I took her out, and I brought her in that night. I defy you to find an ensign that did that, particularly at that time.
Yeah.
Okay. And he had 2 complaints. Number one, I didn't know the standard engine and helm orders that night seamanship recommended. I'd tell the kid on the helm, "Give me a couple of spokes to the left there." Not to the port, not to the start, just give me a couple of spokes. Or, turn a little bit and, steady there and go that direction. The next thing I did, it's 8 o'clock in the morning, okay? If you look here, I'm getting underway from this, I believe it's that pier there. Anyway, you got to go around this point to go out that channel to the sea, and you cannot see anything coming in this way.
Right.
And the rules of the road are very specific. You will give a long whistle signal if you can't see around the bend.
Okay.
And then go out and listen to see if there's another ship. They'll blow a long whistle, and you'll know.
Yeah, you're passing. Yeah.
So I come up to that point.
Yeah.
And it's like 12 to 15 second blast. That's a long time. And I'm leaning on the whistle, and that captain comes running in. "What are you doing? Stop that!" This point right here is called Hospital Point. It's where the Admiral's quarters are. I was holding reveille on the Admiral's wives. So I never did that again. Anyway, I had several situations like that. He was breaking the rules of the road, and he did it several times while I had the con.
All right. Well, I've got 1,000 words.
Yeah.
And that's what I get.
Okay.
And so what I need to know is you stay in to the Vietnam War, or how did?
Yeah, I was a reserve officer for until my first tour was on that tug or that tanker. Then I got the XO executive officer on a fleet tug in San Diego, and I was going through a marital situation.
Yeah.
And we had 1963.
Okay.
Along about October, I'm going to say, I got a letter through the Navy Command that had been personally signed. It was out to the officers, naval officers.
Yeah.
Personal letter through Navy chain of command, personally signed by President Kennedy, asking for volunteers for Vietnam.
This is
63, October.
This is real early. This is got to be CIA type stuff.
No. He wanted advisors.
Oh, okay.
Okay. That was specifically what he was asking for, was officers of my rank, which I was a lieutenant by then.
Okay.
To go to Vietnam to be advisors. So anyway, I'm going through this marital difficulties, and
Off you go.
and I volunteered. This was night, so I went in 1964
In
and,
Vietnam.
Yeah, and I'm here to tell you that if you talk to any veteran,
Yeah.
you probably heard it with maybe the short time you were in.
Yeah.
Don't volunteer.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. They worshipped me. You couldn't believe. They sent a circuit rider out from the Pentagon to come and shake my hand personally for volunteering, patting me on the back, telling me what a wonderful, warm human
You
being
were just trying
I
to get
was.
out of Dodge.
And I would have I would spend 1 year there, no more, and I would get the absolute choice duty that I wanted when I left Vietnam.
Okay.
Okay. I said, okay. Sound good to me. I spent 14 months, not 12, outside the United States.
Okay.
When I get my next set of orders
Yeah.
out of Vietnam, I had to look it up to even find out what the hell it was, because I didn't know.
All right, what were you?
How could I ask for it?
All right, but what were you doing in Vietnam? What'd you do?
Ah, very interesting. This is, and by the way, I'd been to the Antarctic before this, so
Okay.
anyway, that's another story.
All right. So
But Vietnam,
did you
I
fly
ran-
into Vietnam, or you take a boat out there?
I flew.
Okay. So you,
And actually, I had to go through. I was going to. My orders to Vietnam were as a military sea transport service liaison officer for Southeast Asia.
military sea transport officer,
Okay.
Southeast Asia.
Okay.
Okay.
Headquartered in Saigon. The guy I relieved, by the way, was involved with the evacuation of Phnom Penh the previous year.
Oh my God. With
When
the French?
we pulled out, when Prince Sihanouk told us to get
Yeah.
lost.
Yeah.
Anyway, my boss was in Yokohama. The only requirement I had for this job was A, be a lieutenant, which I was, and B, have a military driver's license.
Okay.
And I'm looking, I don't have to go to survival school or nothing.
Okay.
Okay.
So what did you do over there?
I had my own steamship lines, literally.
Steamship line.
Yeah.
Running supplies.
Yeah, supposedly I was supposed to handle all of Southeast Asia, but of course by that I got there in June of '64, and September they had the Tonkin Gulf incident, so I never essentially left Vietnam. Okay.
All right, but you supplied bases.
Military Sea Lift Command is civilian crew. Okay, they are the Merchant Marine.
Okay, American Merchant Marines.
American Merchant. Well,
Yeah.
I'll get to that. Okay.
Yeah.
They are Merchant Marine personnel that man the ships. Most of them, I'm not sure in those days, but probably most of them had military communicators aboard. Okay, so they could
Right.
communicate with
Right.
tactical secure communication. Anyway, they brought all the planes, bullets,
Food.
frozen turkey,
Right.
stereos,
The whole
booze.
9 yards.
Okay, they brought everything there.
Okay.
And I just more or less coordinated and kept an eye on things for my boss. Who
All
was
right,
up
so you're
in
14
Yokohama.
months doing this, more or less, kind of.
Pardon?
You're 14 months doing this
Yeah.
in Saigon.
I in and out of Saigon.
Yeah, but I mean, you're
Yeah.
okay. So you get through that.
Yeah.
Nothing. What are they doing? I mean, I guess the North Vietnamese are causing problems in the South, but it's not making a whole lot of. Until the Tonkin Gulf thing, it wasn't making much headlines over here.
No.
It
It was a very comfortable war.
oh shit.
1964. Okay, we took 2 hours off from noon till 2 o'clock for siesta. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's this big cosmopolitan city, and
Yeah.
there's practically not a single wheel moving on any of the boulevards for 2 hours in the middle of the day.
There.
Okay.
Okay.
It was. I
All right,
had
well,
a two.
so you're there. You finish your 14 months. So then and you're in the reserves. Is this you're a reserve?
I had made a regular officer while I'm in Vietnam. They
Okay.
sent me a
Okay,
letter.
so you're in the regular Navy getting
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, and
All
now
right.
I can't get in and out at my whim.
Okay, so what do you do when you come back from Vietnam?
Well, I have let me
Yeah.
finish with Vietnam, because
Yeah.
there was something that people don't know about that
Okay.
I got involved with. We would get these ships in at the time into Saigon.
Mm.
Okay. And like I said, they brought everything, including that we had. Remember when the USNS Card was sunk in Saigon?
I don't remember, but go ahead.
Okay, the Card was a World War II Jeep carrier.
Okay.
All right,
Yep.
it was tied up in Saigon at the port facility, and when one of our ships would come in, the Vietnamese Navy would be out there with patrol boats and their
Yeah.
form of UDT and SEALs and,
Yeah.
and all kinds of police and
Okay.
presence,
Okay.
so that nothing would happen.
Okay.
And now this happened in May of '64. So here's that ship tied up there, and their specific purpose was to bring planes in.
Okay.
These were not. They wouldn't fly them. This was strictly as cargo.
Okay.
So they're working cargo, and all of a sudden, boom! Big explosion, and they sink right alongside the pier
At the dock.
at the dock.
Okay.
What had happened was there's a busy street outside the port area, which is a walled compound.
Yeah.
Okay. And all the BC did was, like a sewer cleaning. They opened the manhole cover,
Oh, my
crawled
God.
through
And filled it up with dynamite.
right to the side of the ship, and loaded it with plastic explosives, and blew the hell out of the
Well,
side of the ship.
you on duty at this point?
No, I was home with Mother. Oh, on my way. Okay.
Okay.
And I come down to have breakfast with Mom after Dad left, and she's reading the paper. Okay.
Yeah.
Drinking coffee.
Yeah.
And she kind of like looks at me over the. You said this wasn't going to be a dangerous thing. I said, "No, I'm going to be right in Saigon. What goes on in Saigon?" And she crammed it.
Yeah.
Wadded the paper together and threw it in my face.
Yeah.
And she said, "Read that." So I was there. I was at home when that happened.
But you had been there.
No,
You hadn't
I was
gone
on
yet.
my way. I was on my way.
Okay. All right.
I was en route.
Yeah, that must have been pressed the hell out of her.
Yeah. The other thing that people don't know about was all those supplies that got dropped off in Saigon. There was all other places up and down Vietnam where they had to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how do they get there? We had World War II class LSTs.
Okay.
Okay.
With the
That
front.
would pick up. I had one. I had two of them permanently assigned, and one would leave every week from Saigon. They deck-mounted crawler cranes on it. They deck-mounted 4 reefer vans. Now, all of this was World War II material. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm talking
Yeah.
Bucyrus Erie crane, right?
Yeah.
But hell, nobody had the plans for these things anymore.
Yeah.
And they would. And by the way, it's civilian, okay? And the Navy is handling
Yeah.
most of the stuff, but all of the
Only equipment was handled by the civilians.
I don't know, you buying the local food,
Yeah,
making
okay.
sure that people got paid and
Yeah.
got transportation back and forth, was handled by a civilian agent.
Okay.
That is Merchant Marine style.
Yeah.
And this agent was a French national. Okay. And now he was, when one of those reefer vans, when one of the reefers would crap out, well, he'd take it for months, okay, and send it somewhere and get it repaired and send it back, okay. The other thing was, on those LSTs,
Yeah.
it was still haze gray, painted haze gray, had a hull number, okay, just like they did in World War II, flew the American flag, and 100% crewed from the master on down by Japanese nationals. Okay, mercenaries.
Strange war, huh?
Okay. That was probably where I had my most problems. For instance, one of the crewmen got sick, young kid,
Yeah.
got sick. And we did put him up in the Naval Hospital, okay, our American Naval Hospital in Saigon. And he died. Okay, at the time, of course, we don't have that big war going on. So they had literally had a reefer van that they used as a morgue. Okay,
Yeah.
they just put them in there, and then I have to deal with what's going to happen to them
Yeah.
next.
Yeah.
Okay. And while I'm dealing with it, sending messages back and forth to Yokohama to see how they want to handle us, we had probably the first major incident involving American troops. There was quite a few of them got killed. Okay, I don't know where or what the deal was. But anyway, so they send all the bodies to Saigon, and guess what? There's no room at the end. So they threw that Jap out and put the Americans in there. And he's sitting out
On the dock.
not on, I mean at the hospital.
Yeah.
He's sitting out in the heat and humidity and whatnot. Now I get the instructions back from Yokohama. Says,
Yeah.
okay, this is what you do. And oh, by the way, take a picture of him. Okay. And by this time, he looks like he's been beat to death.
Whoa.
Oh, okay. He is decomposing rapidly. And I had to arrange.
All right. Well, you're telling me too much. Tell me.
Okay.
Move me along so that I don't. I can't possibly tell every little thing. So.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so I left. Like I said, I was supposed to get my choice of duty when I left Vietnam.
All right. When you left Vietnam, what was it like? 64?
Yeah, 65.
65.
I left July of 65.
Okay. And so you'll get your choice of duty.
Yeah,
You was going to be a year deal. It was 14 months, and you were going to get your choice of duty.
And I did not.
You wanted to go to the Royal Hawaiian, and they said no. Screw that.
No, I wanted to go to the destroyer school in New London. Okay.
Okay.
And when I got my orders, I'm ordered to Comfibron 1, and I didn't even know what a Comfibron was.
What? Just
Comfibron 1.
spell it out for me.
COMPHIBRON.
3.
Yeah, well, it's all
together, but
yeah, military
capital
stuff.
C.
Commander Amphibious Squadron 1.
Commander Amphibious Squadron 1. Okay, what's
The
this?
naval staff that plans and executes amphibious operations.
Is this like over in Virginia? Where is
Yeah,
it?
well, I think they got
At the little river.
Little Creek or whatever it is.
Yeah, for the SEAL people.
No, that's just part of it. I mean, they're handling the ships, the aircraft,
Oh, okay. They were
boats.
well. Okay. All right.
Okay,
Well, anyway.
Anyway, that's where I go.
So where the hell is it?
San Diego, which is fine with me.
Okay.
That's
Yeah, well, it's close to home.
So I go. My wife, I'd gone back together with my wife, and I
Okay.
go and get her and the kids,
Yeah.
and come back to San Diego to stay at a friend's house.
Yeah.
We get there one afternoon, or like on a Sunday, and then the next day, I pick up the phone. He says, "Who are you calling?" And I says, "I'm calling the command. I got to tell them where I am. I absolutely have to." "Don't you dare! Don't! I said, "No, I got no choice." So I called command, and I'm talking to the second in command. Okay, the chief staff officer. "Oh my God, we've been trying to get a hold of you. Get down here right away." So I'm down before noon.
In San Diego.
And he says, "We just got alerted. We're picking up a battalion in the Marines and we're taking them overseas. I said, I just got back. He says, tough. So he takes me into the Commodore, and the Commodore says, he looked at me and he looked at the Chief Staff Officer and he says, Howie, this better not be who I think it is. He said, yeah, it's your new communications officer. He says, Howie, the man just spent over a year in Vietnam, and you think I'm taking him back overseas? That was the nicest thing that happened to me the whole time I was in. He put me on permanent leave until they got back. Okay. Anyway, so he got relieved, and then I got the worst guy I ever met in the whole service. It's the next Commodore. We flew over to Vietnam to be a partial staff
Right.
over there. They wanted 2 amphibious squadrons over there instead of 1, which is what they usually had. So we went over there as a temporary measure on temporary duty, half our staff, and I'm riding around on the LPHs, like the attack carriers from World War II that had been converted to LPHs, one of which was the Valley Forge and the other was the Princeton.
Okay, so
And
what was your job?
I was coordinating with the Marine staff that was aboard. I was providing communications
Between you and the Marines?
and whoever wanted to talk to us.
Okay.
Okay? And
All right.
nominally I could talk to the president.
Okay, so this is 65.
60. By the time I got back out there was like January of 66.
Okay, so how much time do you spend out there doing this?
Okay, I spent about 3-4 months out there that time, came back
Right.
to San Diego, and then got ready to take the whole squadron out. And I went back out again, I'm going to say probably about September, okay? And we didn't get back until the following April.
Okay, so how many tours you make in Vietnam?
3.
3. Okay, so that's like 3+ years.
No.
No.
It was like 4 months the second time, and like basically like 6 or 7 months the next
Okay.
time, and it was in and about. You know, we were out of the Philippines, we were out of
All
Okinawa.
right. Well, forgetting all that, how long did you spend in the Navy also?
10 years.
Okay, from the time you got out of the Merchant Marine School and got in the Navy till the end, the end of Vietnam?
No, I got out in 1970.
1970. Okay, when things were just really going to hell.
And let me just say this, for the record, we won that war.
Yeah,
Nixon won that war, and the American Senate gave it back to him.
Well, it's a sad situation.
Yeah.
Okay. What was your grade when you got out? Were you still lieutenant?
Yeah.
Okay. The boys in Annapolis weren't going to let you get too far.
And I had never jumped to the head of the class. I'm not the kind of guy that shares my experiences with the people of influence.
Well, okay. So what happened? What'd you do after you got out of the Navy?
I went back to. I had originally gone to San Diego State for 1 year before I went to the Merchant Marine Academy. I says, you know what?
You go back to San Diego State.
You betcha on the GI Bill.
Okay.
I by this time I had finally gotten rid of my wife.
Okay.
And she was nagging
Yeah.
about child support
Yeah.
and all, and I thought, you know what? There ain't a hell of a lot she can get if all I'm I have a part-time job and I'm just drawing GI Bill.
Yeah.
And that's part of why I went. But I did want to. I got a finance degree out of San Diego State.
Okay, so then what would you end up by doing when you got out in the civilian life?
I never did use that. I wound up various things. I was working part-time as a teller for the Bank of America while I was in school. Then I worked in consumer finance, which was, pay or die type of,
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
repossessing cars and that kind of stuff. Then I wound up selling real estate.
Okay. In San Diego?
Yeah.
That must have been a pretty nice
It was
gig.
interesting. It was interesting, believe me. And what I didn't know, I had gotten married again while I was in college.
Okay.
And the lady that I married, if she knew, you know, if there was only one horse running in a race, she'd bet on him to show. Okay, if she had to. She did not like to gamble. Okay, and yeah, I was making money selling real estate, but not until the escrows closed. Right, I wasn't getting a regular paycheck, and she treated my escrows like I was getting that every other week. Okay, and we were in severe trouble, and she walked off. She couldn't take it anymore. She couldn't stand the.
All right. Well, how about children?
I got one boy who works for Boeing now up in Seattle.
What's his first name?
Bill.
Bill. Okay.
And one grandson up there as well.
Grandson, I'm not worried about that.
Okay.
How long have you lived down here?
We got here a little over 3 years ago.
Okay. You come from California?
No, when I retired from the Port of San Diego as a wharfinger, there was too many strange and wonderful people living in California.
Yeah.
By this time.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, I never thought I'd ever leave California, but I would. Now I know I won't go back.
Yeah.
And I moved to Arizona.
Okay.
Lived in the Prescott area, which snows every year. Okay.
Yeah.
And we had a wonderful time there. But my wife grew up in Maine.
Okay.
And all her kids and grandkids are
down here.
Yeah. So she'd spend at this time on the West Coast, which she loved.
All right.
But it's time for her to come home and be able to.
Yeah, see the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So when you move here?
In September of 2012.
Okay. Give me your wife's name, first name.
Susan.
Okay. I think you've more than done it. I've got 50 almost an hour, and I got to boil it down to. So I would imagine we'll go off the air with that. We've got 57 minutes. I would imagine you're